Welcome back to the class, students. So in the previous class, we have discussed about the power launching and coupling. We'll take a quick recap of that and we'll proceed ahead. So in the previous class, what is the power launching we have seen? We have seen its efficiency. Eta is equals to power couple power divided by the power from the source. If you divide both the things from the couple power to the power of the source, we can able to find out its what efficiency, right? So what are the parameters we need to consider while we are designing any kind of fiber? First thing is what numerical aperture, right? Next thing is what is the numerical aperture, students? Refractive index of the second medium by refractive index of the core plus refractive index of the cladding. N2 by N1 plus N2 if you can take it, or else you can able to find out its value for it. So next part, we need to see the core size, we need to see the refractive index profile, core cladding, refractive index difference. If you see all the things, then only we can able to find out the parameter. The next part is the couple efficiency. Eta is equals to measure of the amount of optical power emitted from the source that to be the couple into a fiber. So that is what eta we can able to find. Next thing, fly lead or pigtail attack to the source at manufacturer premise. How do we get that? In order to get this thing, we should know the power launching that limits to be the fiber misalignment. The different core size, numerical aperture and refractive index profiles leads to the value for it. Clear? So that is also we need to understand while we are designing the while we are designing the power launching and coupling of it. Clear? So next we proceed with the next concepts. So what is a source to fiber power launching, students? How do we get that? So as you can see in the pattern, here I have shown one just a brief pattern I have seen you. What is a pattern is showing over there? So see here, this is my radius, right? Radius of curvature. Similarly, I do have an emitting area center. From this emitter, its emitting light is there. So what is exactly I'm saying? So to fiber power launching. So that is what radiance is optical power radiated into a unit solid angle per unit emitting surface area. So if you see that unit angle with respect to unit surface area, we can able to find it's a region of radiance as well. How much is the radiance is there and how effectively it is going to use for it. Next is what is the unit for it? Power. So what is that? Watt per square centimeter, because the area we are saying per what? Radian. Radian is nothing but for finding the solid angle. Clear? So this is the unit for it. How do we find the optical power for this? So the optical power which can be coupled into the fiber depends on spatial distribution of optical power, that is radiance. That is also we can able to use it. Next part is regarding the radiance function of theta and phi. What is the theta is all about? Theta is the angle between the area from the ray where we are getting. What is the phi? Phi is nothing but the point to point. From the which point to which point? From the emitting area center to the spatial part. Where is the space we are just putting? That's what phi. The uniform emission across source area assume for simplicity. So always try to make it as simple as possible. In order to achieve this kind of path, we are using the source to fiber power launching as well, because this is important. No, power launching means how do we obtain the power for that particular laser. That is also one of the important factor for our LED that we have seen. Next is Lambertian pattern of source. How do we get the pattern for that particular source? So what is the pattern we can see, students? As we see, we have two parts of it. One is theta, another is the phi. So B of theta comma phi, how do we obtain? It is equals to B naught cos theta. What is B naught? Is initial magnetic field strength. Cos theta is the angle for it. So surface emitting, how do we get that? So we are using a letter B of theta comma phi. We can able to find out that. So how do we get that particular part? In order to get that thing, we need to see its angle. So that is what the source are equally brightened when viewed from any direction. From any direction, if you want to view that, from there it is going to obtain in one direction. Next part, the projected area of emitting surface varies as cos theta with viewing directions. From which direction you are going to see that, from that direction only the source are going to brighten that light. As you can see, there is optical sources there, no, in the graph. This is my optical source. Clear? So from this optical source, I am giving a different patterns to it. From starting from 0, 10 degree, 20 degree, 30 degree, 40, 50. This is my patterns for optical source. Similarly, this is the cosine angle for that pattern. This is the semi-lobe. Lobe is there. This is my other directions. This is also cos theta. So what I am saying, source are equally brightened. So source are, whatever the brightness is there, it is in equally spaced. Means there is no
difference between any of the direction. It's all are equal. Next part, when it's vary as cos theta with the viewing direction. From which direction you want to view that one, it is equally spaced for all the direction. Next part, hence power delivered at an angle theta normal to the emitting surface varies as cos theta. So always the whatever the angle it is going to take it, it's always vary with respect to cos theta. So Lambertian pattern of source B of theta comma phi is equals to B naught cos theta. That's the normal relation. So B naught would be any of the angle, whatever the spaces we are considering for that optical source. It can be anything. But the thing what you need to remember in this is whatever the radiance we are seeing, it's along the normal to the radiating surface only. Whatever the radiating surface it is a perpendicular to that one, that is called normal over here. Clear? Next, how to obtain the emission pattern of source from the edges emitting LED and laser diode, for both for LED and for the laser diode. If you want to find their particular diode analysis part of it, how do we get that and what are the parameters they're going to depends on it? That is called edging part of it. So the main part of edging would be its angle, right? So the angle is one of the things which is going to take that pattern into consideration and always try to make that angles into one direction. Because as we said in the previous diagram as well, whatever the Lambertian angle we do have, it has an equal space. The brightness will be taken in all direction equally and depends upon the cosine of the angle, it varies with respect to that. Similarly, if I want to find its emission pattern, how much is the pattern of the source, how the emission of the LED and laser diode, for both the things, it's going to vary. That can be considered by using this formula, reverse of that one, 1 by B of theta comma phi, that is equals to sine inverse of phi by B naught cos power t of theta. What is t? I'll tell you. What is L? I'll tell you. Plus cos square phi. One time sine will take, another time will take cos square. Clear? So that is t is nothing but the transverse power. L is nothing but the lateral power. Clear? So cos of transverse power of theta plus cos square of phi B naught cos L. L is nothing but lateral power of theta. Because always when we see any kind of powers, we always see, right, power lagging, power leading. In the basics we know that power lagging, power leading, that depends upon the cosine of angle only. So this concepts we have to consider in order to find their what emission pattern of the source. So what is the difference? Radiance, what we can have? We can have B of theta comma 0 degree, means start from the initial value from 0, and if it is normal incident, that could be theta comma 90 degree in a plane, parallel and normal. This is in plane. Plane means 0 degree and 90 means normal degree, normal direction. That's so respectively. For parallel and for normal plane, if you want to see the angles, we can able to obtain in this manner. Next thing, what is the integer T and L? As I already said you, that T is for transverse power, L is for what is that? Lateral power, distribution coefficient. So these are what actually, these are the distribution coefficients where your power is going to move, in which direction it is going to take it. That could be taken care by these particular values. Similarly, if you want to find for edge emitters, for edge emitter, what is L value? Always L is equals to 1 Lambertian with 120 degree half power distribution. So for the half power distribution, if you are having a Lambertian angle as 120 degree, at this particular typical value, your L value is 1. And always at if L is 1, the T will become larger, the transverse will increasing. So for laser diode, L can be over 100. So L can be maximum, it can take it as 100 as well. For much, whatever the values we are having, for the much narrower regions, the first narrow output from the laser, if you want to find how much is there, that's what it should be. Narrow output should be there for the laser because it's having a fine beam of light. Clear? So this is about the emission pattern of source, edge emitting LED as well as laser diode. For both the things we have considered how effectively it is going to depends on it and what are the things it's going to take it. That is also we need to understand, no? So whatever the parameters we have.
So student, in the previous one, we just see this part of it. So what we said that the M should, the much narrower output for laser not must be there. That to achieve that one, the laser diode should have over 100. Clear? So this is the emission pattern source of edge emitted LED and laser diode. Clear? Next would be the power coupling or coupling to the fiber. How do we obtain the power is going to get coupled to the fiber? That is important for understanding it, right? So as you can see, the one end is what? Optical source chip is there. This is my optical source, right? So other end, what we are able to find? Fiber acceptance angle. So this is what actually the acceptance angle is all about. The angle at which your fiber is going to get the pattern. So that is what we are having two types of it, right? In fiber, what are the material? What are the two parts we do have? One is the core, another is the collider, right? So if I want to see, this is my active area from where I'm laser is giving a source pattern. So this is my source pattern is there. One is the source radiation pattern. One end, if you want to see this inside, it is what lost power, because the power will come from the core only. No, if it's going in the collider, that means the power is getting lost over there. In order to get that back, the power, how do we get the power coupling to the fiber? So that is also we need to keep in our mind when we want to design the fiber analysis, the fiber kind of part of it. So in order to achieve that, we are using this particular part of fiber acceptance angle. Clear? So the next part, we need to see how we derive that one. Basically, how do we take a derivation for it? So first thing we should know, the coupling power is what? Step index, right? Step index means the angle, they are having gradient index and step index. The first we want to see the index value for it. So the symmetrical source of radiance, if you want to see the radiance of it, it is what? ASN omega s. This is for symmetrical from an individual radiating point source. From the individual radiating point source, if you want to find, you can go ahead with that. Next part, the function of area and solid emission angle of source, we can able to take that both area and angle as a function of their source only. Next thing, the fiber kept as close and centered as possible for maximum coupling. For maximum number of coupling, if you want to see the fiber, it must be taken into that particular radiations. Clear? So the fiber kept as close and centered as possible for maximum coupling. For the getting the more coupling, the maximum coupling, the fiber needs to be close. That is the first condition. Second condition is that it should be at the center part of it. We try to make it that the kind of things should be kept at the center part, so that should get the maximum coupling of it. The total power which is going to be radiated, that the radiance integrated over entire emitting surface area for entire solid angle. If you want to find the entire part of it, first thing we will see, P is equals to integration for AF. AF is what we said, it is for the giving the entire surface, right? So this is AF into ds of AS, that is AS is nothing but the symmetrical source of radiance of the area, right? We have two part of it in that. Lambascian angle we have seen, no, theta comma phi, in the same way AS comma omega s. So first we are doing with AS, second thing we are doing with omega s with B. B is nothing but the Lambascian angle. So how, in order to get that one, AF is what? The double integration, because its area, no, area will mean double integration. Similarly, this is also another area, double integration. B of, if you want to remove AS and omega s, we can write B of theta comma phi sin theta d theta d phi. This is for internal part of it to get the maximum what? Coupling, right? To get the maximum coupling, we can apply this integration. For the outer end, we are doing with respect to RDR, because it's a Cartesian, it's not a Cartesian plane, sir, but polar coordinates that we are converting into the cylindrical system. So this is how we can able to obtain it forward by considering AS and omega s. AS separately we did, and we're integrating from 0 to Rm, 0 to 2 pi with theta and dr, d theta and dr, that is for outer surface. This I'm saying, this integration, this is one, and this end and this end, both we are considering for the outer surface. The internal part is for omega s. Both are symmetrical source of radiance, that is the individual radiating point source. How do we get that total power? We can able to get that by integrating with whole parameters. So this is what area, that's the reason double integration we are doing. Inside we are doing with theta and phi, outside we are doing with theta s into r. Clear? So that's how we have converted, and we are able to find whatever the value they gave it, we can substitute and we can able to find out its power. Next part, coupler power, same step index, but here what we need to see, we need to see that whatever the radiance of AS and omega s is there, that should be the first integrated over solid acceptance angle. So whatever the internal part is there, first we will try to integrate, no, then we can go with outer part. So that's what here is just wrote the point over here. It says that whatever the integral radiance is there, B of AS comma omega s, that should be first integrated over solid acceptance angle of the fiber. Next part, theta of 0 comma maximum is the maximum acceptance angles of the fiber. So theta naught to the maximum value, if you want to find, that can be achieved by considering its maximum acceptance angles of the fiber. Next, the power, if you want to obtain, that should be sum up for each point source on LED emitting surface area, that should be in a circular form. So that should be always there in the circular form in order to achieve this part. Then the calculated for source radius more than and less than whatever the core radius for both means you can able to calculate whatever the source radius. It can be more than the core radius or it can be less than the core radius. It can be both as well. Clear? This is what the points we need to keep in our mind for finding the coupled power for step index fiber. Next, try to integrate now. The coupled power step index source radius is less than the fiber core radius. If I am assuming this condition, what is the point I need to consider? Rm is equals to Rs. So whatever the Rm value I am assuming as it should be Rs, and B of theta comma phi. What is the B of theta comma phi is there in the previous one that I am replacing with B naught cos theta, right? You already have seen the Lambertian angle for that because it's a equally distributed. If you see any kind of direction, whatever the radius is there, it should be equal in all directions. That also we have seen B of theta comma phi is equals to B naught cos theta. So same power is equals to what is this outer value, and it will be modified into this as it is. This is what 2 pi. We got this 2 pi B naught because we are substituting the limit. We are integrating with the first term 0 to theta cos theta sin theta d theta. So now integration of this cos theta into sin theta. I can write it as what, if you want to replace it, if further simplify, what I'll write, 2 pi will be there. This 2 I'm shifting inside. 2 sin theta cos theta is sin 2 theta. I can write that. If I'll replace it, I can write it as sin square theta. Sin for upper side. If you try to integrate this whole thing, you directly remember pi b naught 0 to Rs 0 to 2 pi. This is nothing but the numerical aperture. So n is the numerical aperture, a square into d theta into r dr. So this is what at maximum value. What could be the maximum value of sin theta? It should be 90 degree, right? At 90 degree should be 1. That's not. We are saying that na square d theta s r dr. So we have taken first step here 0 to rs, integrating 0 to 2 pi, and internal part we replace it 2 pi b naught, integrating from 0 to theta naught into maximum cos theta sin theta. How do we got that? We are replacing with this b naught, no? In where we are replacing in our previous equation. So if you substitute in the previous equations, like let me just see previous equation. See here, this is what beta b of theta comma phi is there. No, what we replace here? We replace with b naught cos theta, right? So that we replace it, and this 0 to 2 pi, 0 to 2 pi is there. We try to integrate one time. So theta will get upper limit, lower limit. If you do 0 to 2 pi of d theta, what is the integration of 0 to pi? Sorry, 0 integration of 1 into dx x, no? Similarly, integration of 0 to 2 pi d theta will be theta only. So theta upper limit 2 pi, lower limit 0. So 2 pi minus 0 will be 2 pi only. So that's how here is what we got 2 pi. Clear? That one integration we remove. And internal part we substituted. Sin cos theta into sin theta. We multiply with this 2 inside. So we can further simplify at the end. What we receive, what we got the power for that, pi b naught, integrating from 0 to rs for the symmetrical part of the particular radius, and 0 to 2 pi, n is the numerical aperture, a square d theta s r dr. That's what we left. At what condition? That is what is the condition we have assumed for that? We have seen, no? Condition is what? Whatever the source radius is there, rs is less than fiber core radius a. If you had that fiber core radius a, this is the condition we will get. And the next condition what we want to see in this, here coupled power for the same thing, step index, but here what we are assuming is step index fiber Na, numerical aperture is independent of position theta s and r on fiber and faces. So if you want to write, good afternoon student, welcome back to our online session. So we are just going to continue with the same concept of modulation. So here in that we are main concerned with the kind of relation of the modulation with the laser. That is the main concept we are going to see, students. So basically how the laser is going to function, what are the laser is going to work for it, and what are the things the laser must work. Those concepts we are going to learn in details of it, right? So that is our main concepts that we are going to learn in our laser concepts. That's the things we need to consider whenever we talk about the laser kind of phenomena. Always try to remember laser is the one who can help you with the kind of intensity part, right? The intensity is very essential for us to understand, because without intensity we could not able to proceed ahead. Without intensity your laser could not able to proceed in a further direction. So that's what we must understand, the function of laser and how the modulation can taken place for the laser and everything. If you know that everything, then only your laser can able to work in a particular direction. So students, so we are continuing with the modulation of laser, and we have discussed about the two things. One is regarding the pulse, and another we have discussed about the angle modulation, right? So what is a pulse is all about? So we have seen the restriction what we do have, and we are just proceeding with the pulse as well, and major limitations also we cover with the pulses. So what is a pulse modulation is all about? So when we do have a carrier frequency, when we see the carrier frequency, when it's trying to move ahead with the given input frequency. Input is nothing but the pulses what we are using. That is nothing but the pulse modulation. And then we know the analog modulation also, right? What is the analog modulation is all about? So whenever we see any kind of modulation that is going to happen because of the analog in nature, that is considered to be the analog modulation. Clear? So these two kind of modulations we have to see whenever we discuss about that. Clear? So next thing, we have to see the major limitations. What are the limitations? First thing we have to talk about, we have seen that for the first part, whenever we see any kind of limitation, the first limitation what we discuss, spontaneous carrier lifetime. So based on that, we have seen the basics thing what we have to see is about radiate lifetime. So what is a radiative lifetime is all about? It's a life of carrier before it combines spontaneously. So this is the life before it's going to combine with the spontaneity. Clear? That's also we have covered in the previous session. And then next is the room temperature. Tau of your spontaneous carrier should be equals to tau of the radiative lifetime. That's equals to 1 nanosecond for gallium arsenic based on the material for dopant concentration of the order of 10 power 19 as well. Clear? So this is also we covered in the previous session. So here with that we have just considered the next part. What we need to see after that it will be the next kind of limitation, that is about the stimulated carrier lifetimes, right? So what is the use of this particular part? It is what depends upon the optical what acts exactly. So depends upon the optical density, right? So the density is the lasing cavity of the order of 10 picoseconds, right? That's the second limitation. Third is photon lifetime. So I'm not proceeding in detail because already we covered in the previous session. That's what we are not learning in details about it. So we just want to understand how it is going to work. So see here, so what is the formula for this photon lifetime? So it's the average time that would be the use for the hold, right? So what's the hold is all about? It is about how effectively you can apply the time. So this time is nothing but the cavity before being lost either by absorption or by emission through phases. So by using the phases also, it's going to affect that. So that effect part we just want to understand by using this particular photon. So this T in T inverse, the tau inverse of photon is rate of transmission of photon that can be given by, for Fabry paroid cavity we have learned about the Fabry paroid, right? So what is the Fabry paroid cavity? For that, what is the use of it? It is going to use tau inverse of pH is equals to C by N into GTH. That's a gain, right? For GTH it is 50 per centimeter and N is equals to 3.5. So what tau pH would be? You can substitute this one in that particular formula. You can able to find out that particular material as well. Clear? So this is how we can able to find. Clear? Next is about the upper limit to modulation capability of the laser. That is also going to affect our laser cavity. So in order to get that, the pulse modulation, we need to understand how the pulse modulation is going to affect, at what value it's going to take care of it. So that is also one of the things that need to be considered while we are taking this into consideration. Good afternoon, students. So, welcome back to our online session of our optical communication class. So, in the previous classes, we have started the modulation concept. So, we have learned some of the modulation methods. One is the angle analog modulation, another is the pulse modulation, right? So, these two are used for the optical communication that we have already talked about it. Next part, what we need to understand is about the limitations. What are the limitations we do have in our modulation? So, that is our next concept that we need to understand. Clear? So basically, what is the limitations we have learned in the previous sessions? We have seen that for the pulse modulation and for the analog modulation, we do have certain limitations. What are those certain limitations? We have limitations of your spontaneous time, and we had a photon lifetime, and then we do have how to get that stimulated carrier lifetime. These are actually the time delays, right? So this is what the one of the things which we considered in the modulation. Those are limitations we do have, so we need to overcome those kind of things, so that we can get the major kind of modulation rate that needs to be increased. So basically, the major limitations on modulation rates are, what are those two things? One is the first thing we have just learn about it, spontaneous carrier lifetime. So what is the spontaneous carrier is all about? The life of carrier before it combines spontaneously. It is a function of semiconductor band structure. So always the kind of band what we are using, that is always is all about the semiconductor bands only we are going to see, and the carrier concentration, because the carrier is the one which is in the higher frequency, right? So carrier concentration is also play a vital role in our modulation. So main thing is that it also considered to be the radiative lifetime. The main part of that would be the carrier. So the carrier is the one who can take a lot of modulation index part of it into consideration as well. At room temperature, the spontaneous tau of spontaneous is equals to tau r is equals to 1 nanosecond in gallium arsenic based material for dopant concentration of the order of 10 power 19 per centimeter cube. So this is the range what we do have for that particular concentration that we need to consider for our modulation as well. Clear? So this is the one of the kind of modulation that we are considering for our spontaneous carrier life. Similarly, we do have a stimulated carrier as well. So what is a stimulated? It is in it is in pico. So what is the pico value for it? So stimulated carrier lifetime, tau of SC. Tau of SC indicates what? It is nothing but the stimulated carrier lifetime that depends upon the optical density. Because whatever the area we are considering with respect to the volume, if you see that volume and the area into both the consideration, if you see that one, then we are going to get the density. Density is nothing but mass by volume, right? So what is the mass over here? It's nothing but the kind of laser cavity what we are considering. So it depends upon the optical density in the laser cavity, and it's always in the order of 10 picoseconds. Clear? So 10 picoseconds is nothing but 10 power minus 12 seconds. That is what stimulated carrier lifetime will be going to see in that particular range. That's the reason. It is also one of the factors that we are going to see for our spontaneous part. Similarly, we do have a next part of limitation is nothing but the photon lifetime. So TPH. What is this? TPH is all about? It's average time that the photon resides in the lasing cavity before it being lost either by absorption or by emission through different phases. If you see that one, it is nothing but T inverse of phase. It's nothing but rate. Rate is nothing but frequency. Now students, what is the frequency? 1 by T. So 1 by T I am writing as TPH. T inverse of PH, that I am writing as rate of transmission of photon. For periodic cavity, T inverse of pH is nothing but C by N of GTH. GTH is nothing but the kind of gain. So what is GTH is? Suppose for example GTH is 50 per centimeter, and N, what is the refractive index? Suppose this gave us N is 3.5. If you substitute both the things, Good afternoon, students. So welcome back to our online session. In today's sessions, we are going to continue the same concept of modulation, which we have left in the previous sessions. So what we discussed in the previous session, we have talked about the limitations. Basically, it has three things. One is the spontaneous, stimulated, and the photon lifetime. So TPH, tau PH, and then tau ST and tau spontaneous SP. So this we have covered, and we have seen the rate as well. So next we are proceeding with the limitations of by using the pulse modulation. So basically for the pulse, what are the modulation problems we are going to suffer? So that is also we are going to understand it. As we know that the pulse modulation take delay time that can be eliminated by DC biasing. What is a biasing is all about? It's a diode at lasing threshold hold current. It is going to use it and it's going to perform that. So here we do have the lifetime that is become a function of stimulated emission lifetime only. So the tau of stimulated is much less than the tau of spontaneous, right? So this has become this pulse modulation when we are using the DC biasing the diode at a lasing threshold current. Okay, a threshold current, if you want to see that one, how it is going to work on it, that can be done by using this particular part. And the pulse modulation by modulating a laser only in a region above the threshold. After the threshold, it cannot move ahead. That's the reason to say that the pulse modulation that can be taken for the modulating laser in a region above the threshold. Above threshold only the region can be used, and it can be used for that particular part only. Clear? So lifetime is now a function of stimulated emission. So that's what we said, and the modulation of that particular rate is at a higher rate only. The possibility of the pulse modulation can be going to occur. Clear? So the tau of pH. So what is the pH is all about, students? This is we already have learned in the previous one, right? What is this pH is about? The whenever we see the photon, if you want to see the photon of how much is the rate of the photon, first we need to know the time period of the photon, right? So we need to see that one, how effectively it is going to use for that. So after that only we can able to find out its tau. Tau is nothing but a time period that needs to be much lesser than that. Then the modulation rate for pulse modulation, if you want to get for the laser, that can be occurred at a higher rate only. That's the possibility is there for finding the pulse modulation, that due to the higher occurrence will be going to occur it, and it's going to take it based on that only the pulse modulation is going to occur. Clear? This is the basic things that you need to keep in your mind when we are going with the pulse modulation for the laser. In order to understand that, we need to understand its limitation first. What are the limitation is there? If you know the limitation, we can able to understand in a better way how the pulse modulation is going to occur. Clear? The next thing is regarding analog modulation. So basically, what is analog modulation, students? So we know that, right? When we are having a carrier frequency, when we are superimposing that with a message signal, then if you using the analog input, both are in analog nature, that is continuous form, then it is what analog modulation. So what is the limitation of that particular modulation with our optical communication? So the first point is that the derived current above threshold proportional to the modulating signal. That is first limitation of that whatever the drive current is there, that should be above the threshold, that can be proportional to the modulating signal, that must be obtained. The second point is it required linear relationship between light output and carrier input. If you see the light output of it and if you see the carrier input of it, both the things, if you want to see the understanding of it, how it is going to work on that, that can be always needs to be in linear in form. If it is linear in nature, then only this can be like this need to be obtained. If that particular obtain of that particular graph should be in a linear form, then only we can able to get this relation. But this is what actually there's a limitation, right? This should not be the only the specific part of it, the light output and the carrier input requires the linear relation. That is not always will be the same kind of thing. It can be fluctuating as well. So that should not be the possible, right? So the next point, what we are saying, the linearity between the LED, whatever the LED we do have, whatever the linearity if you want to see, then we can say that's a better than the LED, light emitting diode, when we are talking about this other kind of analog modulation part. And due to the non-linearity,
intermodulation and cross modulation going to affect? So suppose if the graph is not linear in nature, if it's fluctuating, then what is the use of that particular part? That is not going to use in a proper way, right? So that's what we are saying, that this is going to affect our modulation. This is regarding analog. Clear? So next, how the temperature is going to affect. So what is the temperature? Current we are considering in milliamperes. If you see the optical power in milliwatts, we already have seen this graph. Means starting initially, again diagonally it will increase in a very linear form. So that's what 20 degrees centigrade. This is the graph we can able to see at 35 degrees centigrade, 50 degrees centigrade, 65 degrees centigrade. So this is the temperature. This is the constant temperatures we are keeping, and we want to see how much is the power, optical power we can able to get it. This is the graph we can able to see with the temperature effects, right? If the temperature is increasing, the power intensity also somehow the current is consumption is also increased, right? So this for 60, suppose this is 65, 70, 70, 80, then 85, somehow this way the current has been obtained, and it's what always it needs to be in that particular region itself. Clear? Next, what is the temperature effect that we just want to see? The graph we see, now we will see the derivation of it. The threshold current temperature depends upon the approximation relation that is given by ITH of temperature is equals to Iz e power T by T naught. What is ITH, students? This is threshold current, right? We always know threshold is about, it's a value. At that value, beyond that, your a minimum value. Suppose if you want to see a threshold current of the silicon and germanium, we have seen, right, 0.3 volts or 0.7 volts, right? What is this is all about? This is about at that particular value, start conducting from that one. So that's how we'll say for current also, for threshold current temperature, that is also going to depends, and the approximate relation for that would be ITH of T is equals to Iz e power T by T naught. What is Iz? Is a constant. Then T naught is a measure of relative temperature insensitivity. That is what I naught. And what is the typical strip geometry for gallium, aluminium, arsenic laser diode? T naught is the 120 degree to 165 degrees Celsius. Between that, the geometry of that particular laser is going to obtain. The next, using the feedback mechanism, laser output can be maintained constant as well. That means whatever the values we do have, and it is also going to use the constant characteristics by using this relation. And it's giving a typical circuitry for maintaining the output constant. That is also be possible for temperature effects for our laser. Clear? So this is how the laser effect is going to obtain for our analysis part. So if you know this part, how it is going to work on it and what are the things we do have, we can able to find their part also. That is the temperature dependent also. We are able to see this one. Similarly, next we do have power launching and coupling. So basically, what is a power launching means, students? What is the meaning of power actually? We need to have two kind of power. One is the input power and another is the output power. We need to get it. So optical is what? Optical power we have, input part we are giving in the form of supply we are giving. So here we are seeing the power launching and the coupling. So what is this things is all about? So this is what, whenever we want to see any kind of parameter which we want to understand, the first parameter to understand would be the numerical aperture, right? This is very important to design our optical laser. Next is index difference of fiber. Next is core size, refractive index profile, core cladding, refractive index difference of the fiber. The size of the fiber needs to be understand. Their radiance means the kind of pattern of their radiative nature, and the angular power distribution of optical source. That all needs to be taken into consideration when we want to design a particular laser for power parameters. Second part, what we need to understand is efficiency, right? How and why the efficiency is so important? Because efficiency is the one who can able to understand the amount of optical power which we are emitting from the source that can be coupled into the fiber. Because in fiber we do have three things, no? Core cladding and the outer buffer is there. So what we are saying, whatever the power I am giving, how much is the power is consumed by internal part and how much is the output is getting, that needs to understand from the source, right? So that is what efficiency. Efficiency is the one who will going to design and who is going to understand this particular form of it. So what is the eta is equals to power of PF. What is the PF is all about? The optical power of that one by the source power.
It means output by input, we can say power coupled by power from source. The power couple is the one which we are getting from the output divided by the source of the power. Next, efficiency depends upon the type of fiber. What kind of fiber you are using, that is also one of the thing we are going to see for designing the fiber as well. So most important thing about the fiber is this particular part only, how effectively you are going to understand for the fiber analysis. Next thing, the efficiency depends upon the type of fiber and coupling process, comma lenses, etc. So means efficiency always, definitely efficiency will depends upon how much is the intensity of our fiber and what are the lengths. Length is nothing but how the core and cladding or what kind of material it's going to manufacture and how effectively we are going to get that. So based on these all kind of parameters, your efficiency will depends. Next is filet or PTL, attack to source at manufacturer premise. This is one type of it which we are using for the making the source, that is also going to affect it, right? Obviously when we do have any kind of thing, it was going to affect that one as well. Next is regarding the power launching limits, thus to fiber misalignment, different core size, numerical apertures as well as the refractive index profile. So based on the refractive index profile also our laser is going to depend. So most of the time when